This looks like a theater building. It says for rent. My first look says it's some kind of commercial business warehouse. I thought at one time maybe it was a grocery store, but now that I can see inside it, it's not really a front view store. It's like it has an entranceway like a movie theater would, then the bulk of the building is blocked from view from the outside. And then maybe the last venture here was called Monkey's Jungle. So that gives me the idea that maybe behind the front here where we can't see is probably something equivalent to a performance hall, probably even maybe it was an old movie theater, I don't know. I'm doing an idea of what houses are like. From the front you can see behind this blue truck, this old blue truck, that's a nicely painted facade. You would think it's the house, but it's the facade for the wall that walls in the compound. And then if you look above this shack, you can see along the barbed wire, you can see the big two-story house. That's a very modern, clean, higher end house, more expensive, more elaborate, not too fancy by world standards, but very nice for Jinotega. And when you get a nice house here, even if it's luxury, there's nothing stopping a neighbor from building out of old, probably secondhand wood, not really painted, not really clean. It's the neighbor, and then starting here with a nice house. And most houses have that plaque above it saying the family's name, saying so and so family resides here. Here's a picture of a old run-down building that's still being used, probably still being lived in, still being used as a store. Today's Sunday, so most things are closed, so I can kind of take pictures of private places without interfering with people's business on a Sunday. You can see the plaster on the walls is falling off, exposing the mud bricks from who knows how many hundreds of years. And the wood inside the patchwork of mud and plaster looks old also, yet the wood maintains its freshness. Well, not fresh look, but as far as being able to hold itself up in whatever it's put there to support, except for the cases where termite rot has taken place. Here you can see termite work going, except the termites are gone and the wood is such quality that what they left behind is really strong and in place. It's not something that I poke at and it just punches through. It's sturdy, good old wood. That's a house and a store. I think they live upstairs and have a store downstairs. A corner barber shop. Now, that's an old roof. They've done new cement work underneath what was an old building, and you can tell it's an old building by the old roof. These type of roofs aren't renewed in town anymore. When you see them, they're really old. You never see new versions of them where they use the clay tiles for the roof, and they're always overgrown with some kind of vegetation. I don't know, maybe lichens. All the electric and telephone wires are covered with lichens. That's a repair shop. They've been putting a new facade in the front underneath a old building. This is a new house in town. It's one of the larger, nicer ones, and like most of them, they try to make the front of it look as much as like an entire house, but once you open the doors and walk into what would be the living room, you are facing what is a courtyard, and there's a giant tree in the center of that house where the roof doesn't cover the entire building. The center is open, and when it was still being painted and worked on, the doors were open and I could see a giant tree in the center. And most of the houses in town, as is old tradition, are houses built around a courtyard, center courtyard, and it does make for really good ventilation. And right next door to this mansion, for this town this would be considered a mansion, right next door was this house being renovated, and all of this to very modern standard, and they take security fencing and gating very serious here. If they don't put a security fence, they built the house right to the street and put really strong doors. Some of the modern houses are being built with yard spaces in the front, but for the most part they're still doing the traditional thing, building the house right up to the sidewalk and then putting the yard space in the center courtyard and the back. Something like this is for rent right now. It says for rent, and it says una casa, so that would be a house for dwelling. It looks like it might be a duplex. One window, one door. That would probably be one apartment. Another window and another door would probably be a second apartment. I haven't gone in, but something like this is for rent in Jinotega, and it would look really small from the outside, but normally when you go into these houses, they stretch way back into the center of the block and have lots of space. Rarely will you find one that doesn't have more space on the inside than it appears to have from the outside. Someone told me that, oh, you can buy a house here for $25,000. So I'm assuming by that connotation they meant if you really wanted to be cheap that you could get one for $25,000. I'm assuming it could be a house that's really old and needs a lot of work. Something like the big mansions there, I wouldn't even dare to say that those were costing $25,000. I wouldn't be surprised though if the lot was occupied by an old building that could have all been bought for $25,000, house and lot, and then they gut the house out, remove everything or only the parts that they can't rebuild upon, and then they build what they want. And they find really good ways to make efficient use of small spaces to make a big house fit in.